Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. It's a beautiful Thursday afternoon in the city of Virginia Beach. And of course, you know what time it is. It's time for that one and only, that community activist, Miss GA for Justice. I'm talking about the one and only Miss Georgia Allen. How you doing? How you doing?
I am wonderful, wonderful. Back in town. What they say, back in stride again.
Yeah, that's what it
How are
is.
you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm here with you.
All right, all right. Let's get busy. Let's get busy. Greetings, everyone. I am Georgia F. Allen with GA for Justice, coming to you every Thursday at 12 o'clock noon. And as always, our topic is vote, 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 vote. But today's personal topic is ready to work now, not later, but ready to work now. Our Kwanzaa principle is Ujama, collective work and responsibility, the same as last week, simply because we need to be in this fight and we need to keep working. Not only do we need to be ready to work, we need to start working right now. So, collective work and responsibility is to build and maintain our community together and make our community problems our problems and solve them together. Our faith message is Ecclesiastes 9:10 from the King James Version, and it says, "Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with all thy might. For there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave whither thou goeth." So if you're in the grave, unless you put something in this atmosphere, unless you left books behind that has knowledge in it, unless you left a quote or something with wisdom that can be passed and transferred from generation to generation, your knowledge is lying in the ground somewhere. So keep that in mind. Greetings. Yes, it is Thursday. And yes, I am Georgia F. Allen with GA for Justice. And I am here today with, of course, Henderson Vaughn, aka the Dream Maker, aka Captain 85, who has opened up the airwaves to bring our listening audience a simple conversation, a conversation for information, a conversation for correction, as well as a conversation for transformation. Many of you who know me are well aware that I have worked in the civil rights arena and I have been a community activist for decades. Therefore, the various positions that I take are mine and mine alone. I do not speak on behalf of any groups or organization. So, with that being said, hello, this is Georgia F. Allen, and I am back. I was in Washington, D.C. and Charlotte, North Carolina, but our message is the same: unity, not uniformity. We have massive goals, and we must work in our respective lanes to get the work done. Therefore, whatever group or organization you're with, please stay in your lane and stop the nonsense with criticizing this person or that person or the other person. Stay in your lane. If your lane is healthcare, do healthcare, and where we can assist you from the civil rights side of healthcare, call on us, and we will be in our lane as we help you get to your goal. Keep in mind, we also have everything that we need. We just need workers to get the work done, because none of us can do this by ourselves. We need a team effort. We need to be a team. We need to be in unity. So I would like to encourage you, spend more time doing the work and less time complaining about the workers and less time analyzing, procrastinating about the work that must be done. This is work that has got to get done, because if we don't do it, who's going to do it for us? And so with that being said, I'm so excited to be back. I'm so excited about what we were doing over the last couple of weeks. The first week, I was kind of just enjoying the Washington, D.C., visiting monuments, enjoying going back to my old stomping ground of Roslyn, Virginia, and taking a look around in Rosslyn at what was going on, what new buildings they had put up, what companies had left the area and now in another part of Northern Virginia, or have left the Northern Virginia area altogether. So it just gave me a time to just relax and breathe in and breathe out and just enjoy a few moments where I was not in the middle of some type of fight. And then later we went down to Charlotte, North Carolina, and we spent time with the NAACP. And with that said, I am very excited about the work and the focus of the NAACP. The theme this year was fierce urgency of now. We don't have time to wait. There is no later. If we don't work right now, our children are going to suffer the consequences of us digging our heels in and staying in place and not moving forward on the things that matter the most. I'm very excited about being down there in Charlotte, about the people who were there, those persons that were working in the vineyard, many of whom have worked for decades on behalf of their respective communities. We met people from all over. We met them from Texas, from Alaska, from Hawaii, and just listening to the things that were going on in other cities and other states and in other regions was interesting to behold, because in some instances they were similar to what we're experiencing here in our local city. They elect people to office, and what happened? They get that job, and guess what? They forget about the people that put them in office. That is all around the country. It's not germane to the city of Virginia Beach. It's all over. And so therefore we needed our marching orders, because a lot of times we become frustrated instead of being fighters. We get into a mindset where we become simply talkers without any tactics. And so in a lot of times we become so angry, we forgot that we are the agitators. We, from the civil rights community, we're there to agitate, to push back, to advocate for others. And if we don't do it, who is going to do it on our behalf and on the behalf of our children? And so it was really wonderful to be in an atmosphere of civil rights activists. It was wonderful to be in an atmosphere of civil rights workers. They weren't just talkers. They didn't just sit around and talk about what needed to be done. They talked about what they were doing in their respective communities, and where there were places that some of us or one of us or any one of us were able to provide some insight from our own experience in our own local community. We did so. And where there were instances where we were concerned about things that was going on in our city, they had a story to tell, and they shared those stories openly with us so that we could say, oh, wow, hadn't thought about that. So those are the times when you come together, not just to socialize and front and do all of this other stuff. It's a time to learn. It's a time to combine knowledge. It's a time to share experiences that we have had in our respective cities, our counties, our states, our communities. And I hope people took advantage of those opportunities as they were in Charlotte. And for those who went to DC, if you were part of the Deltas, they were also doing similar work and sharing with their group what are some of the things that they can do to strengthen not only their local chapters, but to strengthen the community where they live and where they work. And so it was wonderful to see all of these people, some of whom we saw twice. We saw them at the Delta convention. And no, I am not a Delta. I was up there because it was easier to travel together and go to two conventions than it was to go to one person, go to one, then come back to Virginia, and then we ride together and go to another. So it was just easier to go to both conventions. I use that time to visit family, friends, and others, either over the phone or in person, and it was fantastic. So, as we talk about this topic today, ready to work, a lot of people claim that they are ready to work, but won't lift a finger to do anything. And so we need people who are ready to work and ready to work right now, because the work that needs to be done cannot be put off until later. We have to operate in a mindset that what we don't do will have long-term effects on those who come in behind us. That is our children, our grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great grandbabies. And so we have an opportunity, we have a window of opportunity to work on issues, to change mindsets, to lobby our legislators that we have put in office, and some of those that we have not put in office. We still have a right to legislate and lobby them and push them to do things that are in our best interest. And you said, well, we didn't vote for them. But guess what? Every time money come out of your paycheck, those are tax dollars. And those tax dollars in turn pay those people a salary. And in the case of Congress and our senators, and Congress consists of the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate. That is the whole entire Congress. Congress is not just a congressman. Congress is both the Senate and the U.S. House of Representatives. And so we are paying their salaries. But what else are we paying? We're paying for their staff. What else are we paying? We're paying for their housing. What else are we paying? We're paying for offices that they can set up around the state if they are U.S. senator, but around the district if they are a U.S. congressperson. So don't be shy about holding them accountable for the things that they do, how they vote. Are they voting in your best interest or no? And if they're not, check them, call them out on that. That last bill that was passed with regards to changes that they will be making with in areas like farming. We need to be concerned about the farmers. And you said, well, I don't farm. Why is that important? Because those farmers are farming the food that comes to you. So you need to be concerned about that. You need to be concerned about USDA, okay? And you need to be concerned about the Food and Drug Administration. You said, well, why? Because if there's nobody taking a look at the type of foods that they're putting on the market, if no one is looking at the type of medicines that are being placed in the marketplace, guess what? Those things can kill you. If they are not checked and no one is coming in from the health department to check on our restaurants to see whether or not the food that they are putting on the table in front of us, and maybe it looks absolutely great, but that food before they prepared it had never been checked. And guess what? That was not food that was fit to eat. So that's why when you hear these people, well, the government is too big. Well, what part do you want to cut? Do you want to cut the area where they're looking at whether or not your medicines are okay? Because we are a community that take a whole lot of medicines. We take a pill for this and a pill for that and a pill for this and a pill for that. So you want to make sure you have someone in there who is regulating whether or not that particular product should be on the market or not. That's important, people, because a lot of times we kind of look at this as if it doesn't concern us, as if it doesn't involve us, as if it's a situation that, oh, that's for those people to worry about. That's not for us to worry about. It's for you. is for you, because if you don't take medicines personally, I'm sure there are family members who do. So you want the Federal Drug Administration to take a look at those drugs that they are putting on the market, and that those drugs have the type of chemicals in them that are healthy and will not cause you all type of other problems. Fired up and ready to work. We are absolutely fired up and ready to work, Bernita. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so for those of us who are ready to work, we're ready to work when? Right now. Not tomorrow, not later, but today. We are ready to work now. And that's why I chose this topic, because a lot of times we go to the conventions and we come back home and we're all fired up. We're, oh man, it was so good to see everybody. We're glad to see people that we hadn't seen for a whole year. We hadn't talked to them or anything. And we're all excited about that part. Or we're all excited about the luncheons. Or we're all excited about the time that we spend together in our plenary sessions, in our morning sessions, when we come together as regions. Because in the NAACP, we have 7 regions. And some regions have a lot of states. But in our region, we have a state, a commonwealth, and a district. So we're in region 7, and we have the Commonwealth of Virginia, the state of Maryland, and the District of Columbia. And you say, well, why do y'all have only 3? Because if you look at the population size of the African American community in Washington, D.C., in Maryland, and in Virginia, there's a whole lot. Whereas if you look at a state like Iowa or North Dakota and South Dakota, and you have all of those states that have very, very small population of Black people, they kind of need to be a little bit larger so that they have more people and more representation. And they are able to be to come to a group or a region like ours, like Region 7, and they have people that they can talk to about some of the concerns that they may have in these rural areas. Because while we might have a number of Black people in our state, we also have rural areas. And so we have presidents who work in those rural areas and who lobby and who are looking at how things are being done. And because there are more of us in a place like Virginia, Maryland, and DC, we can kind of assist some of those states in places like Idaho, Iowa, Nebraska, and states like that. So we come together as a community, but also as a family. We remind ourselves when we come to those big conventions that we're all one big family. Whether we're in a state like Kentucky, or whether we're in a state like Georgia, whether we're in a state like New Mexico or Arizona, or whether we're in a state like Florida or North Carolina. So we keep those things in mind. And again, the people who generally come to the conventions, not all of them, because you can't put everybody in one box. Most of those people who come to conventions are the ones who don't just talk about what's going on and what's wrong or whatever. They are about the business. They are truly about the business and about the work of the NAACP. They are truly about the business of justice. They are truly about the business of ensuring that everyone has equal rights. And so we look at them and we're grateful that they're there. These members and supporters understand how urgent it is to ensure that we are putting in place proactive measures to counter our opposition, because we got all types of opposition going on. And they're not necessarily people who are in elected office. We may have communities who are operating against the concerns and the things and the issues that we care about. You know, we looked at a group of business owners. They're not the government, but they were business owners who looked at how they could push back against the 10-1 voting system. So we need to know who our opposition is. So once they put their names out there, we can make decisions such as, do we want to purchase from their business? Or do we want to make sure that we let people know who these groups are who are pushing back against the things that we have been fighting for? And the other thing about going to conferences and conventions is the people that are there know that we must focus on progress and not focus on play. Doesn't mean we can't play later on in the night after we've gone through and went to our various sessions and listened to our speakers, but they focus on how do we make progress? How do we turn some of these things around? So we understand that now is not the time to be playing with our children's lives and their children's lives. Now is not the time. Now is the time to make sure that our now and next generations are not just surviving, but our young people, they are thriving both individually and collectively. So let me be very clear. Justice, freedom, fairness, equity will not come knocking on your door. That's not the way it works. That is not the way it works. Let me say that again. Justice, freedom, fairness, equity will not come knocking on your door. You got to work. You got to be ready to work. And you got to be ready to work right now. So we must motivate others to mobilize and pressure those we have elected to office to do their jobs on behalf of all of us and not just some of us. It's about all of us, y'all. It is about all of us. It's about our seniors. It's about the juniors. It's about the babies. It's about all of us. It's about our men. It's about our women. So wherever you are listening from, if you're online, if you're listening later, please don't just listen. Do. We need you to do something in your neighborhood. We need you to do something in your community. We need you to work. Because see, everybody can do something. We need every last one of you to get out there and do your part. What can you do? You can call your elected officials on every level. Stop acting like the only time we need to vote is when it is the presidential election. We need you voting for the dog catcher and the president too, okay? We need you to vote for your school board and your city council, and especially your local Commonwealth attorneys and your sheriff. Also in the Commonwealth of Virginia, we have a governor's race. We have a lieutenant governor race, and we have the attorney general on the ballot as well. But we also have all of our state delegates. Okay, when you have a system, when you have a elected form of government, you have different houses of government. In the state of Virginia or the Commonwealth, we have the General Assembly. Well, inside of that General Assembly, which is our state offices, we have the House of Delegates and we have our state senators. So one side of the House is the House of Delegates. The other side of the House are our state elected senators. Delegates serve for 2 years. Senators serve for 4. So in our Commonwealth and also in the state of New Jersey, we don't have time to slow down. As a matter of fact, it's a time to speed up. It's a time to make, if you're making 5 calls a day right now, 5 days a week, and you take 2 days off, and those 2 days could be Monday and Tuesday, or they could be Saturday and Sunday. So don't box yourself in and say, oh, I'm going to call Monday through Friday every single week, because that might not work for you. As a matter of fact, Some weeks you might call Monday through Fridays, and some weeks you might call Tuesday through Saturday. So it's going to vary. So I want to not only share with you the call to action, but I want to empower you and prevent you from locking yourself into situations and feeling guilty because you didn't make your phone calls on Wednesday. Well, guess what? There's a Thursday. Okay. And so if you didn't make calls on Wednesday, guess what? You can turn around and make calls on Thursday. That's what you're doing out here in the field of work. That is your work that you are doing. And we appreciate everyone who is doing their work. The other thing is, our young people, they love text messaging. They also love, I just got a message from that. They like TikTok, but the other one is the Instagram. That one they really love. Our young people really love Instagram. So if Instagram is what you love, then put information out on Instagram over and over again. You might want to do 3 messages a day, 1 in the morning, 1 in the midday, and 1 in the evening. If that's the way you work, then do your work. Because I can't do your work for you, because guess what? It took me a minute to even think of Instagram. So that's not the place that I work, but that's okay. Because what did I say earlier? Stay in your lane. If your lane is over here, it's okay, because guess what? We got a goal. And our goal is to make sure that those people who are coming against us, that we counter our opposition. We want to be able to counter our opposition. And the thing of it is, know your victory line. And know that victories have to be won again and again. The guy that won the Olympics back in 1950, that was his victory. Along came another person that had to run in 1954, okay? And that was their victory. So don't act like when you win a victory, it's one and done. It is not one and done. The other thing is, don't keep running around in circles. We're running toward the finish line, the victory line, knowing that that one victory is not necessarily a permanent victory. And how do we know? Because we've seen what has been going on here in the United States of America. We fought for civil rights. We fought for housing. We fought for voting rights. We fought for these things, okay? And here we are again, years later, fighting again. So don't think of a victory as a one and done. All right, we're coming up to announcements. And I forgot to send you something too, because we got a event this evening, but I'm going to announce it. The month of July, there's a lot of birthdays in July. And if I had put every birthday up here, that would be the rest of the show. Okay. That would be the rest of the show. But right now, I want to talk about George Washington Carver, born July the 12th, 1864. And I don't know if I sent you that one, so we can put his face up there later. Bill Cosby, born July the 12th, 1937. Gerald Levert and Daphne Reed. Gerald Levert, unfortunately, passed away. The son of, Gerald is the son of, what's his father's name?
Of
the OJs. He's
the OJs, yeah.
Yes, it's the OJ's son. He was born on the 13th, and so was Daphne Reed, who is the wife of Tim Reed. Forrest Whitaker, born on July the 15th, 1961. And many of us who watch soap operas, yes, I watch soap operas. Christopher St. John's was born July the 15th, 1966. And of course, we lost him a few years ago. due to some type of heart ailments. So we've had some really good actors. We've had some strong civil rights activists, and who were born in July. And people have mixed feelings about Bill Cosby, but the doors that he opened for many actors, the doors that he opened, we cannot deny that. These people are gainfully employed. Some are now owners of some of the rights of works that they have done. And because his voice was a voice in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, we have many people who started out on the Cosby Show in different world who are successful creators till this day. So I will not discount the work that he did. Whether I agree with some of the things that have come out since that work, that's between me and Bill Cosby when I talk to him in my personal journal, okay? Because I think we get all bent out of shape of being angry about stuff, when in fact that should be in community stuff, okay? Forrest Whitaker, born July the 15th, 1961. And many of us know Forrest Whitaker. I think he's the godfather of Harlem. Has done numerous works throughout his career. And want to give him a shout out, belated birthday on July the 15th. Ida B. Wells. Yesterday was her birthday. Ida B. Wells, July the 16th, 1862. Now, this was a fighter. This lady wasn't scared of nothing. She was anti-lynching advocate back in the 1800s. Okay? A journalist. She used her pen to expose persons out there that were doing things that were in opposition to Black people's rights. And she didn't hesitate to write about it. Now, she had to move a few times, but it never stopped her from using her pen. And she was a real, true civil rights activist. Miss Diane Carroll, born July the 17th. And I want to say she was born 1940. Yeah, beautiful Diane Carroll. She played Julia on television, did a wonderful job. She was a professional. She was a nurse. Her husband had died. She was raising her son alone. But having someone like Julia on the TV, someone that looks like us, was phenomenal in that era. Then there's Nelson Mandela, born July the 18th, 1918. He was the first Black president of South Africa and a global icon of the peace and reconciliation. Now think about that for a moment. In Africa, it took decades for a Black African to be the president. Up until that time, European folks that had once again invaded someone else's land, they were the president of the land where the majority of the people who lived there, who were born there, who grew up there, were Black. Think about that for a moment. And then there was John Lewis, born February 21st, 1940. Mr. John Lewis, also February 21st, was the assassination of Minister Malcolm X in 1965. So he had something in common with Malcolm X in that his birthday, born in 1940, And then 25 years later, Malcolm X was assassinated on his birthday. John Lewis died on July the 17th, 2020. He was a fighter for justice, and he believed in the saying, get into good trouble. John Lewis was part of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, also known as SNCC. He participated in Freedom Rise, and of course, he was there on Bloody Sunday for the Edmund Pettus Bridge March. He was badly beaten. They called it Bloody Sunday because so many people were badly beaten from that Selma March across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And tonight at the Central Library, if you don't have something on your calendar, you want to be there. We're going to be at the Central Library at 6 o'clock for an event. We're going to start on time. I had to put it in air quotes. We're going to start on time at 6 o'clock. It will go from 6 p.m. until 7:30. And it is basically the Good Trouble event. We're going to be commemorating Congressman John Lewis, who believed in fighting for justice, who believed in fighting for freedoms. And he was a conscious, he was considered the conscious of the Congress. And we need people out there who can be a conscience for our local government. We need people out there who will call out folks who are not doing what they should be doing and who's not passing laws that they should be passing. We got to have people in leadership position who make themselves a conscience for these people, because if you don't, they're going to continue to do what they've been doing. And that is not necessarily in the best interest of our community. So we want to make sure we call these folks out. And I'm going to pull it up real quick so I can give you the information on the event. It is done in conjunction with Freedom Virginia, and it is called The Good Trouble Lives On, a community conversation in Virginia Beach at the Myra E. Orbendorf Central Library, 4100 Virginia Beach Boulevard, Thursday, July the 17th, from 6 to 7:30 p.m. And I do apologize because I was supposed to get this to you. Since I've been traveling. And so we want you to join the Virginia Beach NAACP in Freedom, Virginia for an active night of not only celebrating the legacy of Good Trouble and John Lewis, Congressman John Lewis. It will be an exciting and informative night of carefully applying the knowledge left behind John Lewis and how it applies to our beloved community in Virginia Beach and surrounding areas. So we're going to have a panelist, some panelists, myself included. Benita Richardson will be up there. I think she's going to be speaking to you a little bit about drug affordability, prescription drug affordability, healthcare, and other issues that may be a benefit to you. So you want to come out. I, of course, will be talking about voter suppression and the issue of the 10-1 district voting system and the impact that it will have on the whole community itself. So we're encouraging you to come out and participate this evening. We will be taking some questions from the audience. We will have some questions in advance, but there will also be a time for our guests to ask questions as well. So with that being said, we're going to get back to the show, and we're excited about many of the things that are taking place here in our community. While we have some challenges, we have a lot of opportunities, and I don't want people to forget that there are opportunities. Even in the midst of challenges, there are opportunities. Okay, so And one of the things that we have to remind people of, because a lot of people love to have titles, but I want to strongly encourage our community to be careful who they put in positions when their biggest issue and their biggest concern is what their title is. We don't just need people who love titles, but we need people who have toughness, because these fights are ongoing. You see them in our city, you see them in other cities. So let's not put people in positions and give them a title when they are weak and don't have the toughness to hold that title. Because there are other positions that we can put those people in. We also have folks who want to be in the first chair, but don't have a consistent message that goes anywhere. They have a nowhere message for the people as they sit in the first chair. So we want to be careful of those people as well. So we're going to have to replace some of these people so that we can ensure that we have a better outcome. Because if all we have are people who are fronting, then our work is not going to get done. We need workers in the vineyard. Scripture tells us that. It says, whatsoever you put your hand to do, you got to do it with all your might. You can't half do this civil rights work. You can't half do this work. It can't be done just so you can get a few publicity stunts. You can't be there just so you can perhaps get a free meal or a banquet ticket. That's not why you want to be there. You want to have people in position who are excited of not only being ready to work, but excited about doing the work that they are ready to do. And so I want us to be very, very careful. These are perilous times. We've had tough times in the past, but we have not had these types of times during my lifetime. Prior to me being here, our people suffered all types of situations and everything. And I want us to be very careful now. After coming back from convention and listening to people like Jamal Bryant, listening to people like that, after listening to people like Jataka, who runs the Black Women Leads, and listening to someone like L. Joy Williams, who is now the head of the New York State Conference, took the place of President Hazel Dukes. After listening to these people who are, and that's Jataka 80, EADDY, after listening to these people, I'm sitting there in awe of the work that they're doing. And I thought I was working hard and they made me feel bad, okay? Because there are people out here who are working very hard. And we have plenty of other people who are running their mouth saying a whole lot of nothing, and they're not willing to work hard. And we need people who are willing to work hard, even if they can only give us 6 months. I'd rather have someone give me 6 months of dedicated hard work than have somebody lying around for 2 and 3 and 4 years pretending to work. So give me that 6 months. I'll take that 6 months any day of the week. when someone comes in to an association with the right frame of mind to work on behalf of our community. And we don't need people jockeying for positions without doing the necessary research and the necessary investigation to thwart the enemy. And y'all, let me tell you, we got a whole lot of enemies out there. Got many. So we got these people who are out here. They believe in talking about it, but never doing anything about the work that needs to be done. But they're good at talking about it. They're good at telling us how we got all kinds of things going on in our respective cities, and we got this happening and that happening and all. And that is true. But what are you doing about it? What are you doing about it? And so that takes work. And if work is not in your DNA, you probably want to step aside and let someone else who is going to be a lot more effective, who is going to be someone who cares more about the community than they care about themselves. And so sometimes you have to remove and replace people in your community who are not doing the work. And we see it. We see it. We see it because we see it all over. We see that people are being quiet as they sit in these positions, as they sit on these boards, as they sit on these commissions, as they sit as representatives for local elections, on city council, on school board. And they're quiet about the things that matter. They're quiet. And then when they do speak out, they're not speaking up for the people. Oh, they'll open their mouth and speak out, but they're not speaking on behalf of the needs of the community itself. Oh, they love to take pictures with basketball players or music celebrities and things of that nature. But what are they really doing to make a long-term investment and a long-term impact on what is in the best interest of the people who have been marginalized, disenfranchised? And so we want to make sure that as we move forward and as we do the work, because we're ready to work. We know what time it is. And we're ready to work, and we're ready to work now. And so for those who have been out here on the battlefield, those who have been sitting on the sidelines, those who are debating, should I get involved? Should I not get involved? We have a number of groups and organizations that you can become a part of. And I always encourage people, when you come into an organization, sit and listen for a little while. Don't feel like you need to be the number one chief in charge. Sometimes you might need to listen. The other thing that I like to tell people is don't get so bent out of shape because you don't agree with everything that's going on. Find you a committee, get on that committee, work that committee, investigate, research, and there's a constitution pretty much with every organization you join. So if there's a constitution and you decide you want to be on a committee, and the constitution or the bylaws tell you with this particular committee, these are the 5 items to work on, why don't you just try working on one and seeing if you can be successful with the one? Hello. Do the work on the one item, and then from there, grow from there. Because sometimes we come in and we think, oh, whoa, let me just do everything. Oh, man, let's go over here and do this. Let's go over here and do that. Let's do all of this stuff. but nothing is really getting done. Why? Because you're doing it too fast, and you need to slow down, and you need to slow down some more. And that can happen with our various organizations, when it would have been better to plan, identify an area that you want to focus on, and then build on that, and build on that some more. The 10-1 system is a prime example. The 10-1 voting system, where we now have individual districts and we can control the process. We have people out there saying, well, we don't have as much representation. But if you're buying all the seats in at-large systems, then you have all the representation. The rest of the people don't have any. At least with the single-member districts, the people in that district can vote somebody in office. And if that person isn't working in their best interest, guess what? They can remove and replace them. We just need you to get out of other people's business and stay in your own lane. Because if what you are seeking with an 11-member council, if folks are voting against what you are seeking, and they have a justifiable reason to vote against it, and the people in their community is saying, no, we don't want you to vote in favor of that, then that's representation. Because in the past, if you had enough money and you have purchased enough seats, everything that you want would get passed. Prime example, the oceanfront. Everything the people at the oceanfront pretty much want get passed. Well, there are another 9 seats of representation. Now, shouldn't some of this other stuff get passed too in these districts? I think it's time some of these other people get some representation. I think it's time for some of that money in a $1.78 billion budget. It is time for some of that money to go into some of these other communities. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying all of the money should not just go in one community when you got 10 communities, 10 districts. The other 9 should be able to get some of that money too. That's all I'm saying. So folks out here, family, it's time that we pivot. We must be ready to work, and we must be ready to work now. We must be willing to do the work, and we must be willing to do the work right now. We also must be willing to go out and find foot soldiers to help us with the work, and we need those foot soldiers now. This is not party time. It is purpose time. And keep in mind, if a group can write a Project 25, that after its implementation, this thing can last for 10 decades. That's 100 years, y'all. Surely a group of people whose forefathers were kidnapped from their homeland, these people who learned a language and learned a culture, even though that language was hidden from them, even though they were denied the right to read and write, they were denied that. They still learned the language. I know that our generation, that this generation, the generation that we're here right now, that we can develop a manuscript, we can write a compact, we can work to prevent our descendants from future terrorism, from future unnecessary incarceration, from future degradation, and from future annihilation. We need to get to work, and we do need to get to work now. And why? Because we need to protect our children. We also need to protect the things that we've already built. See, we've already built the institutions. We've already built colleges. We've already built our churches. We've done those things. But now we need to go back, because We also built hospitals. We also built our hotels. We also had bus companies. We also had airports. We also had all of those things. So therefore, if we've done it before, we can do it again. So now that this nation decided that they wanted a Saul, and Saul was that dude in the Bible who was the king. Now that this nation decided to elect a Saul, we need to make sure that we rebuild those infrastructures that protected us. But this time around, we might have to go a step further, y'all. We may have to also put together our own army, our own police department, and our own protective services. Because we don't want to see another Wilmington, another Tulsa, another Rosewood. We don't want to see that happen again. We want to make sure that we put the things in place so that we prevent the harm to all of those who are coming behind us. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So we're ready to get to work. It is our time. We've been to conferences. We've been to conventions. We've been in workshops. We've listened to the speakers. We've listened to people from all walks of life. We listen to people who are prolific in AI. They're professionals. They're experts in artificial intelligence. And they're saying to us, we shouldn't just want to go on these products and use them. We should want to create our own. Okay? So we need to pivot from only being a user. We need to be developing, and we need to be owning AI. So with that being said, let's be ready to work. Let's get ready to work. Let's start working, and let's start working now. And let's get this work done. Again, I'm Georgia F. Allen with GA for Justice. I come to you every week at 12 o'clock noon. And I'm excited about doing more work. Again, come and join us tonight at the Central Library at 6 p.m. for Good Trouble Lives On. Thank you so much, Henderson. We look forward to seeing you next week. And of course, we are on WVDM.
All right. Another great topic and another great episode. So don't forget to join us at the Obendorf Library. It's, we say 6 o'clock?
6 p.m., yes.
6 p.m. So
might want to come a few minutes early because we plan on getting started on time.
On time. All right. But nevertheless, it's been fun. And once again, want to thank Georgia Allen, community activist, for hosting this show and bringing you information, as I quote, for transformation. Until next time we meet, the next time we greet, join us again next Thursday from 12 until 1. Until then, bye-bye.